The legendary Sega Saturn. More like legendary blunder. It should have been able to compete with the Sony PlayStation and Nintendo 64, however it was missing one crucial thing, a killer app. Sega had crushed Nintendo at the start of the 90s by bundling the Sega Genesis with Sonic the Hedgehog, but they didn't have a Sonic game ready for the Saturn. Sonic X-Treme was supposed to be the Saturn's killer app in the fall of 1997, but it had been cancelled at the last minute. To fill the gap created by the lack of a Sonic game for the Saturn during the 1997 holiday season, Sega commissioned Traveler's Tales to port Sonic 3D Blast to the Saturn for a simultaneous release with the Genesis version, as well as a racing game called Sonic R that originally had nothing to do with Sonic. Back in Japan, Sonic Team were working on what would eventually become Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast. They also helped fill the gap by porting the 4 Sonic games for the Sega Genesis to the Sega Saturn in a compilation called Sonic Jam. Sonic Jam was released in the summer of 1997, the second Sonic title released for the Saturn and the first Saturn exclusive. While Sonic Jam is primarily a compilation of the then-released main series Sonic the Hedgehog games, it also includes a 3D hub world called Sonic World. The stage is something of a playground where the player can experience what a fully 3D Sonic game might be like. The Sonic World section of the game is actually based on an early version of the Sonic Adventure engine. Originally, Sonic Adventure was designed as an adventure RPG for the Sega Saturn. With the Saturn's demise coming sooner than later, Sonic Team decided to move the project to the Sega Dreamcast. Sonic World is based on the design of Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1, and includes many mainstays of the Sonic series like springs, floating platforms, rings, and badniks. Tails can be found flying around the level. You can grab onto him and he'll give you a bird's eye view of the stage. There's a button at the start of the stage that'll assign you timed missions to complete, as well as various buildings like a movie theater where you can watch Japanese commercials for various Sonic games and projects. The commercials are amusing, but the real treasures here are the never-before-seen materials. A special animated short called Sonic Man of the Year was included with Sonic Jam, with no firm explanation of where it came from or what it was intended for. There's also a CG short called Sonic Ride that's featured here in full, and presumably would have been part of a mechanical arcade kiddie ride. As interesting as Sonic World is, after an hour you've seen pretty much everything there is to see. This is the extent to the original content in Sonic Jam. This is where my interest in Sonic Jam ends, and that's not Sonic Jam's fault. When the game came out in 1997, the only way you could play the original Genesis games was by owning a Sega Genesis. As of 2019, we've had more ports, re-releases, and remasters of the original Genesis games than I care to count. Some have been very good, while some have been very bad, but for the most part you can buy all of the classic Sonic games on virtually any device. Compilations are never really exciting to look back on unless they really add something worth talking about. Thankfully, Jam got it right and is worth talking about. These are ports of the original games updated for the Saturn's hardware from the original source code, something I don't think we've seen happen again since. Every re-release since Sonic Jam has been emulation-based or rebuilt from the ground up. Unlike later collections which present the games in their original versions exclusively, Sonic Jam includes bonus easy and normal modes that fix elements of the original games to make them easier or less frustrating. The original games are there, but these modes add new ways to play the games. This is also the first time we've seen the spin dash added to Sonic 1, which has become a running trend for a lot of more recent releases of the game. Having just played through all of the original Sonic games, I wasn't about to play them all again. With that said, there are better ways to play the classic games. Sonic World is a cool feature, but all of the extra content can easily be found online, and the 3D stage itself isn't particularly impressive 20 years later. It's definitely worth playing for Sonic fans, and I'd say Sonic Jam is a must-have for any Saturn collection, but it's not something I would actively seek out on its own.